At 1:07 p.m., my phone vibrates on the drafting table. Backyard camera. Motion detected. I glance, expecting a squirrel with body dysmorphia or the neighborhood cat daring my tomatoes again. Instead, a white folding chair marches across my lawn like an obedient soldier. Then another. Then 20. The live view is a wedding blog in progress. 2 men in black polos carry an arch of eucalyptus, and baby's breath through my side gate, the one with the rusty hinge I keep meaning to oil. A woman in a mauve headset points like a general. A baker in a chef's coat walks past with a tiered cake balanced like a planet on a plank of plywood. My backyard. My chairs. My cake. My eucalyptus. I am at work, hands on a stormwater retention model, arguing with a spreadsheet that thinks gravity is optional. The city rain will hit on Friday. Our detention basin needs to be ready. I'm the one who designs for overflows and what water does when people pretend boundaries are a suggestion. It's ironic in a way that makes my jaw tick. I unmute my group text with my mother, my cousin Bree, and my brother Nolan, a thread I muted around the time they decided my front porch was a community storage locker last spring. Me. Why are there 30 chairs in my yard? 3 dots. Then, Mom. Surprise! Bree. Eek, don't look yet. It's going to be gorgeous. The light back there. Nolan. Waya? Work? Don't freak out, LOL. Don't freak out, LOL. They're code for, we already did the thing. Your job is to sanitize our choices. I walk to the window that overlooks our office parking lot. The sky over Portland is a kiln-glazed white. Heat is coming. I picture the hydrangeas I coaxed through last summer's drought and the flagstone path I laid one weekend that felt like therapy with heavier stones. I picture the sprinkler heads I repaired myself when I bought the house, zone by zone, with a headlamp and patience. My phone buzzes again. Backyard camera. Person detected. A DJ rolls in a subwoofer like a small black refrigerator and parks it by my maple tree. He plugs a power strip into my exterior outlet, the GFCIs installed to code. A cord snakes toward the grass like a hazard in waiting. I call my mother. She answers on ring 1. Sweetheart, she says, an octave higher than casual. Isn't this fun? Why? I ask, tasting each word the way you taste a new spice that might be poison. Is there a wedding in my backyard? Bree's venue double booked, Mom says. Can you imagine? They called this morning. Tragic. But family is resourceful, so we pivoted. Your yard has the best light. Bree deserves the best light. Bree deserves a venue that asked me, I say. Oh, honey, Mom coos. You've always been so generous. You don't need anything from us to say yes. That's why we love you. Generous. They're code for. We can count on you to be a doormat with resumes. I'm at work, I say. And none of you asked. We didn't want to bother you, Mom says. You're always so busy. This way, it's just handled. Take the day. Come home early if you want. We put a reserved seat for you on the aisle. We reserved me to my own lawn? Don't be dramatic, she says, cheerful as an ice pick. Think of it as lending the space. It's community. Community. They're code for, your resources are public. Ours are heirlooms. I hang up because my temper is a fuse, and my fuses are professionally designed to fail before the house burns down. Everything okay? Priya asks from the next table. She's my colleague, the only person I've ever let name the succulents on my windowsill. Bernard, Phyllis, Thelma and Louise. My family used my backyard for a surprise wedding, while I'm here calculating stormwater runoff, I say. Ah, she says. So theft, but make it floral. My camera shows a florist hanging chiffon from my pergola, the one I sanded down last fall, sealed and promised better days. Another group text pinged Brie. Heads up. The caterer needed your fridge, so we moved the condiments and put the sauces on the patio in the shade. Hashtag teamwork. The sauces. My Dijon. My salsa. No. This is how I get derailed. I pull my work phone's headset down around my neck and call the non-emergency line. When a woman answers, I give her my address, my name, and what I have, people on my property without permission. Trespass, she says, as if confirming a species by tracks. You're not home? 15 minutes away. We'll dispatch a unit to stand by, she says. Do you want to make contact first? Yes, I say, because if there's one thing I've learned in both engineering and families, it's this. Water only respects the levee you actually build. I open the app for my irrigation system. When I bought the house, the controller was a sunburnt beige box older than me. I replaced it with a smart controller because I am both lazy and a control enthusiast. I named my zones like a person who loves maps. Zone 1, Hydrangea Lane. Zone 2, Herb Quadrant. Zone 3, Maple Shade. Zone 4, Flagstone Rink. Zone 5, Vegetable Orchestra. Under each, the schedule I built like a lullaby. 5:30 a.m., 9 minutes, ET adjusted. I open manual runs. My thumb pauses. I'm not sure if turning your yard into a baptism is legal, Priya says. Nothing illegal about watering my plants, I say, on my schedule. What about the DJ? I installed outdoor GFCIs for a reason, I say. I'm a responsible adult with a suspicious heart. Priya smiles in a way I file under witnessed. You need backup? What I need, I say, is a valve key and a sense of humor. I shut my laptop. Cover me for 2 hours? Text me from the parking lot, she says. And may the water pressure be in your favor. I'm out the door before the camera can send another notification. The day smells like hot tar and coffee. My car door sticks like always in summer. I tug like always. Halfway down the ramp, I get an alert. Package delivered, front door. The world is either mocking me or on my side. It turns out, both can be true at once. I am not technically a vengeful person. I am a person who designs systems around physics and then trusts the system. Sprinklers are gravity and timing with a little pressure thrown in to keep things interesting. I know my system the way a barista knows her machines by the sound the steam wand makes when it's in the right mood. 15 minutes later, I'm in my driveway. Parked on my curb are 2 SUVs with a sticker that says Mauve Weddings plus Events and a white van that says, DJ Matt, we bring the party. Folding chairs line my side yard like an assembly line, lead by a teenager with a snack bag and a willingness to sweat for minimum wage. I walk through my side gate and become a character in a movie I would have hated 3 years ago. The woman who owns her property and her calm. Dozens of faces turn to me the way sunflowers turn to light. I spot my mother in a pink wrap dress, her pearls like punctuation. Brie, mascaraed, airbrushed, glowing, stands under my pergola, hands clasped under her chin as if she manifested this from a Pinterest board. Nolan carries a cooler. He sees me and lifts his chin in the way he learned from our father's mirror. Look who's here! Mom trills, walking toward me on heels that sink elegantly into the lawn. We were just about to do a run-through. Stop, I say, because if I don't plain-spoken now, we will escalate to metaphors and crying. Everyone stop. The florist pauses mid-staple. DJ Matt removes his headphones. The mauve headset woman raises a clipboard like a shield. This is my home, I say. No one asked to use it. Family doesn't have to ask, Mom says, smiling with teeth, like a weather woman delivering a hurricane with lipstick. In fact, I say, family especially has to ask. Nolan snorts. Don't make this a thing. It is a thing, I say. You made it a thing by opening my gate. Bree steps forward, shaking like someone who missed her last 3 meals because photos. Please don't ruin this, she whispers. The venue messed up. We had nowhere. Your yard is perfect. You've always had such good taste. I thought you'd be flattered. Flattered. They're code for, we did whatever we wanted and are offering you a feeling instead of consent. Mauve headset approaches, voice bright. Hi, totally understand there's some logistics. We'll be out by 9. The generator is clean power. We have mats for the cords. Very professional. You'll hardly know we were here. You've already eaten my salsa, I say, because the open tub on the patio table offends me in a primal way. She blinks. We can replace any condiments. It's not about condiments, I say. Then what is it about? Mom's voice is soft in a way that makes me want to throw a lemon. Permission, I say. Respect. Liability. The fact that if someone trips over a cord you draped in front of my rosemary bush, my homeowner's policy takes the hit, unless you have event insurance naming me as additionally insured, which you don't, because no one told you to, because no one told me. It's about the fact that I am not a venue. I am a person who pays taxes and knows where the main water shutoff is. The non-emergency dispatcher's unit rolls up then like the universe's stage manager hit the cue. 2 officers step through my open gate. The older one nods at me. You're the homeowner? Yes, I say. I didn't authorize this event. I want them to leave. I understand there's a bride with ruined plans and a budget. I will not have a wedding here. I expect my mother to weep. She goes a different direction. Officer, she says in a tone that could pat a head. Surely there are more important things? We're family. She's overreacting. The younger officer raises an eyebrow. Ma'am, someone using your property without consent is not nothing. Mauve headset slides forward with a practiced smile. We can be out by 3 if we cut the cocktail hour. The ceremony is at 2. Promise. We'll be so quiet you'll think we're a meadow. We have a DJ, I say, motioning at the man in the tank who is currently testing bass at a level designed to distress whales. DJ Matt looks offended. It's a wedding, he says. We do what the bride wants. What the bride wants, I say, can be what the bride pays for. Elsewhere. Bree's eyes fill, finally, with a liquid that is not curated. I can't believe you, she whispers. I always wanted my wedding to be where I grew up. With family, you're ruining my dream. You grew up in an apartment over a laundromat, I say, and then I try to gather my gentleness. Bree, I'm not your villain. I'm the person who has put a trash can on the curb for you and Mom and Nolan and Dad for 12 consecutive Christmases because you were too hungover. I'm the person who watered Nana's geraniums when Mom forgot. I'm the person who has repaired this fence 3 times. Ask me next time. This is a no. Her lip quivers. Please, she says. Just the ceremony. 20 minutes. Please. My therapist's voice arrives in my head like a timer hell-bent on saving dinner. Your no can be kind and still be a no. I look at the officers. I would like everyone off my property, I say. Now. The older officer looks at the mauve woman. You have a contract? She glances at Mom. Mom shakes her head minutely. Mauve says, we have plans. You can plan somewhere else, the officer says. They look at me, all of them. In their eyes, entitlement, appeal, outrage, prayer. In mine, a blueprint. I take my phone out. I open the sprinkler app. I tap Zone 4. Flagstone Rink. Manual run, 12 minutes. I thumb start. There is a beat, then an elegant flub, Then 12 sprinkler heads leap to life like small, engineered miracles. And a graceful arc of water fans across my lawn, catching sun, illuminating the dust motes of everyone's bad planning. The first jet hits the pergola with gentle jurisdiction, misting the chiffon into a wedding veil gone feral. The second finds the line of chairs and makes them nod. Yes, 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 which is ironic. The third finds DJ Matt's setup, but the GFCI pops like a heroic friend, and the subwoofers sigh into silence, spared. As prearranged by my extensive relationship with code-compliant outlets and the physics of not killing anyone at my house. "Oh my God!" Bree squeals, hopping back in heels, dress hitched, mascara rivulets. "My hair!" The florist flings her staple gun like it bit her. Nolan laughs until I look at him. Then he doesn't. Mauve headset scrambles like a crab to rescue a basket of programs, which go confetti in the spray. The officers step back to avoid a comedic soaking and fail. The younger one grins. The older one says, "We'll give you all a minute." Mom gasps, hand to pearls. "You did this." "I watered my plants," I say. "You're heartless," she says. "I'm done being wet," I say. "There's a difference." I tap Zone 3, Maple Shade. The maple, God bless her, participates. The officiant, who has been invisible until now because apparently this private play had blocking, holds up a book and gets anointing he did not request. "Pack it up," the older officer says, voice raised to be heard over the sanctified hiss. "You heard the homeowner." The mauve crew moves like a pit team in reverse. The chairs march the other direction. The arch becomes a raw materials list again. A cousin I haven't seen since she was 8 tries to outrun a sprinkler head and loses. Her shriek is a punctuation that might belong in a different story if I were less me. Bree stares at me as if I personally bulldozed a cathedral. "You can still get married today," I say to her, softer. "A park, a courthouse, a living room with 10 chairs. You can even use the arch." I point to the eucalyptus bundle. "If you sign a rental agreement and give me a deposit. Or you can plan a day you love later. But not here. And not like this." She opens her mouth. Closes it. For a second, I see the girl who used to draw brides on notebook paper and hand me the crumpled portraits like offerings. I stop the sprinklers. I point to the officers. "Could one of you stand by while they load out?" "Of course," the older one says, as if he worried I'd ask him to officiate instead. I walk into my kitchen and find my condiments baking on the table because someone decided shade equals shelf. I carry them inside, slow, measured. I wipe my counter. I breathe, in through 4, hold 2, out 6. Dr. Hara didn't tell me I'd need to use that on a wedding day, but I suppose that's why you build habits, for the days you need them more than you wished you would. There is a knock at the sliding door. Miss Alvarez from next door stands there with a dish towel and a look. "You turned on the sprinklers," she says, not a question, not a judgment, just a neighborly weather report. "I did." She grins, a wicked little thing that reminds me of her teenage photos from the 80s. "Tell me when you want to repaint the fence. I have a ladder and a weakness for straight lines." I laugh. It comes out like relief shot with regret. In the yard, the mauve crew pulls away like a retreating tide. My mother says something too soft for my camera to catch, then storms to the curb. Nolan shrugs his cooler onto his back and follows her. Bree stands alone in the destroyed aisle and looks very small. For a second, I want to hug her. Then I remember what hugs have meant in our family. A prelude to the ask. I open the sliding door and step out. "Do you need the number of the park office?" I ask. "They can do permit by phone if a spot is open." She stares at me. "Do you hate me?" "I don't," I say. "I love you." "I hate what you did. That's different." She nods like she's reading a sign in a language she almost recognizes. "We don't have a permit," she says, choking. "We don't have anything." I pull a piece of paper from the drawer by the fridge. I wrote it while Zone 4 sang. It says, "If you want to get married today, call number. Ask for Mika. Tell her you're my cousin. There's a shaded spot under the elms at Westmoreland that's almost always free after 1. Bring chairs. No amplified sound. You can have the arch if you sign this." I hold out a simple 1-page rental agreement I printed from the internet and edited like a person with a legal pad and a drafty heart. Bree takes it. She reads. She looks up. "You're charging me?" "For the arch," I say. "And for choosing me over a venue without asking." She swallows. "How much?" $200, I say. Enough to say value. Not enough to say ransom. She signs. Her hands shake. She hands me cash from a pink envelope that says, "Tips in glitter." I do not analyze that. I write her a receipt on a post-it like a professional at a lemonade stand. Mauve headset appears at her elbow, damp, chastened, but still efficient. "We can do Westmoreland," she says. "We have a battery amp." "No problem. It'll be beautiful." "We can make beautiful out of honest," I say. "That's how beauty works." They leave. The officers give me a card with an incident number, which I tuck into my boundary folder, a file I started last year the day my mother let her church group store papier-mâché doves in my garage overnight. They nested for 3 months. I close the gate. I deadbolt it. The house sighs. I make tea. I sit at my kitchen table with my wet socks on. I write the first entry in a new log taped to my fridge. Boundary log. Today, declined a surprise wedding in my yard. Held, yes. Felt like turning on the sprinklers in my own chest. Things greened after. Families will tell you the crisis is over the moment it inconveniences them to admit it's not. At 5:42 p.m., after I've vacuumed grass confetti and reset the irrigation schedule to normal, after I've moved my condiments back to their rightful shelf, after I watered my hydrangeas properly because noon sprinklers are a sin, my mother arrives with Nolan at my front door. They don't ring. They walk in. "Keys," I say without prelude, holding out my hand. "Now." Mom blinks. "Oh, sweetheart, not this again." Nolan's face is a default of smirk, but it flickers. He drops his set into my palm with a clink. Mom clutches hers like a rosary. "You can't mean—" "I do," I say. "This is my home. I decide who enters and how. From now on, you don't. Not without asking. If you respect me, you'll respect that." "We needed the fridge," she says. "We needed the bathroom. We are family." "You needed to ask," I say. "I am family." Nolan slumps onto my couch because he is a man who has used my couch as a confessional for too long. "Bree got married at the park," he says. "It was nice." His face registers surprise as if beauty could exist without white uplighting. "Good," I say. I mean it. "Cassidy cried when the sprinklers went off," Mom says, naming an aunt as if weaponizing her tears will change the physics. She said it was the meanest thing she'd ever seen. "She lives in Arizona," I say, "where they understand water." Mom's chin trembles. "I raised you to be kind." "You raised me to be useful," I say again because repetition is a brick in a wall that wasn't there before. Kindness and usefulness only look the same when you are the person benefiting. "Why are you like this?" she whispers, which is the question she asks when I do anything that doesn't fold into her geometry. "Because I learned," I say. "Because I took notes. Because I started keeping receipts." I stand. I walk to my garden shed. It smells like soil and cedar and the faint metallic tang of the hose reel. I pull a bin off the top shelf labeled House Docs with a label maker I bought the week I moved in because I needed to see proof I knew what I was doing. Inside, plat map, title insurance, permit records, an HOA letter that scolded me politely for removing a dying arborvitae without consulting a committee that meets whenever they are bored. I carry the stack to the kitchen table and lay it out like evidence at a trial I didn't want but will finish. This, I say, tapping the plat map, is my property line. This, the survey, shows where my fence sits. This is the permit for the pergola, which, by the way, I pulled. Me. Not a someone. Me. This is my homeowner's insurance declaration. Notice my deductible. This is the HOA letter that says, no gatherings of more than 20 without a permit. I slide a copy of the CC and RS toward Mom, who looks at covenants the way a cat looks at calculus. And this, I say, holding up my phone, is a photo of my card on your kitchen counter, because last Christmas I learned. I inhale. No, that's the wrong story for right now. Here's today's thing. You used my house as a venue because it was easy. Easy for you has required me to make everything hard for me. For years, quietly, while you labeled it generosity. Are you done? Mom says. We came to apologize. That was not an apology, I say. That was a weather report. Nolan shifts. I'm sorry, he says, eyes on the floor. I let the DJ in. Mauve said they had it cleared. I didn't check. And what do you call that? I ask. Lazy, he says. My brother is many things. Honest is occasional. This feels new. He rubs his neck. Do you still have that neighbor's number? The one with the fence contractor? I can call him. Your hinge squeaks. I blink. A repair offered without a bill attached. I file that under maybe. Mom exhales in a gust. Fine, she says, slapping her keys into my hand. But we all make mistakes. I made one, I say. It was letting you believe I would always unmake yours. Do you want us to pay you? She says it like a dare. Yes, I say. They both jerk like fish who expected the hook to be metaphor. For what? Mom says. For today's use of my time, I say, because billing is how you make invisible labor grab a chair. For the cleaning. For the risk you agreed to on my behalf. For the hours I left work. For the hours I won't get back. For the eucalyptus leaves clogging my downspout. How much? Nolan asks, guarded. $700, I say. Half the venue deposit you didn't get back. Payable by Friday. After that, late fees apply. You're unbelievable, Mom says. And I almost laugh because that is precisely the goal. Be someone she no longer predicts. I email them an invoice through the same software I use for my side gig designing small backyard rain gardens. The subject line says, Invoice 001, unauthorized event. The line item says, damage/use fee. The notes say, please do not schedule further events at my home. My software asks if I'd like to enable auto reminders. Yes, I would like that. They leave. The house fills back up with the small sounds of me being the only person in it again. Kettle, fridge hum, my pens tapping against each other in the jar. I step into the backyard and walk the path I laid rock by rock. Water beads on the flagstone in perfect circles. I squat and press my finger into one until it gives. I text Priya. Sprinklers. 1. Wedding industrial complex. 0. She sends back a gif of a fountain. Then, drinks. Friday, I want every minute. I write on my boundary log, boundary, removed spare keys. Held? Yes. Felt like turning a deadbolt inside my chest. It clicked. On Thursday, the invoice pays. $700 slide into my account. The memo says, Sorry without punctuation. I move it to a separate savings bucket I name Fence Fund. In my bank app, the letters sit there like a small, efficient justice. I move on. On Friday, my doorbell rings. I open it to find mauve headsets standing there in jeans, hair wet, no clipboard. She holds a bakery box. I came to apologize, she says. We shouldn't have accepted the job without a contract. Brides cry. Moms bully. I caved. That's on me. Our policy got sloppy in the pandemic. I let it stay that way. We update it today. I take the box. Thank you. I also brought this, she says, holding out a one-page document. It's a copy of Mauve Wedding's updated property use consent policy. There, in clean font, a line. If the property is private, we require 1 title owner consent, 2 event insurance, 3 proof of utilities plan, 4 exit plan, 5 noise compliance. She points at the bottom. We added sprinkler system check to the walkthrough. I figured you'd appreciate that. I do, I say. I appreciate someone else learning from my sprinkler math. She laughs. I didn't know pumps could pop like that. GFC is, I say, love of my life. She glances past me into the yard. It's beautiful, she says, not as a bargaining chip, just as a person saying a thing seen. I'm sorry we assumed. Assumption is the cousin of theft, I say almost gently. I'm learning to treat them the same. She nods, cheeks pink. We comped the DJ for the park, she says. The bride cried happy. The photos are gorgeous. I'm glad, I say, and I mean it, which surprises me a little less than it would have last year. After she leaves, I take a lemon tart from the box and put the rest in the fridge for Ms. Alvarez. I carry a slice next door. She opens the door with her dish towel still over her shoulder. I believe in reparations through sugar, I say. We eat on her porch while her cat, Chairman Meow, pretends to ignore me. Miss Alvarez cuts her tart with the side of her fork and says, "Water goes where it's allowed." True, I say, and where it's pushed. Build your berms, she says. I did, I say. They work. She nods. You can plant over them. I look at my yard. I see the line where I will build a raised bed in spring. I see the section of fence that needs replacing. I see the spot where the arch was and feels like it will hold a lilac. I wash the plates. I go home. I sleep without dreaming of aisle runners. 2 weeks later, a thick ivory envelope appears in my mailbox. The handwriting on the front is my mother's, a neat Catholic school script that never learned to apologize. I open it and find a sheaf of photos. Bree under elm trees, sun mottled across her dress like a blessing. Nolan holding our aunt's toddler. Mom with her cheeks wet in a way that looks almost unperformed. No note, just the photos. Beneath them, a receipt from the Parks Department. Westmoreland Park. Elm Grove Picnic Area. Wedding permit. $72. Someone circled the amount and wrote, "Can you believe it?" in the margin as if the universe had finally priced something fairly. I lay one photo on my mantle because it is good not to punish everyone's best moments every time. I lay the receipt in my boundary folder because evidence is less an accusation than a kindness you later show yourself when memory tries to gaslight you. On a Wednesday, I take a half day and meet my therapist, Dr. Hera, in her lemon polish-scented office. She wears sensible shoes. She makes me do the breathing even when I say I don't need it. Tell me about the sprinklers, she says, and I laugh until I hiccup and then I cry because when you unclench, it's not always the first emotion that comes out. It felt like turning off everyone else's faucet and opening mine, I say. And also like being a petty god. But a legal one. New sentence for your boundary language? She says. I write. It's not petty to protect what you maintain. We make a list. It is titled, Things I Am Not Responsible For. It says, Your lack of planning. Your feelings about my number. Your embarrassment in front of people you tried to impress with my property. Your budget after you refused to ask. Your story about me when I choose myself. We hang the list on the wall next to my tide table from the last season of my life, and I realize I am building a small museum of my own sentences in here. I like it. On Friday, I stop by the community garden on the way home. The raised beds need mulch. Gus, who runs the place, hands me a shovel and a permission slip to get dirty. "Heard you're the sprinkler lady," he says, not unkindly. Word travels, I say, and we move wheelbarrow loads like prayer. That evening, Nolan texts me a photo of a hinge and a tube of lithium grease. "Can I fix your gate Saturday?" he writes. Like, with your supervision so I don't mess it up. "Yes," I reply. "Buy your own grease." LOL. "Fair," he writes. He comes on Saturday. He is on time. He greases and adjusts and replaces 2 screws with stripped heads. He curses not creatively, but sincerely. He drinks the water I hand him like it's earned. When he's done, he opens and closes the gate and grins like a kid getting a kite to stay up. "You could have said no that day," he says, not looking at me. "I did," I say. "I mean 10 years ago," he says. "When Mom had you hold my stuff while I messed around, you could have said no." "I didn't know how," I say. "And I was afraid you'd drown." He wipes his hands on his jeans. "I did a little," he says, "and it was my job." "Learn to swim," I say, and it is both joke and medicine. He looks at me. "I'm sorry." "It's not everything. It's one hinge. I will take it." On Sunday, I host a small dinner. Miss Alvarez brings arroz con pollo that tastes like the memory of a dance. Priya brings a salad with too many herbs, which is perfect. Gus brings a loaf of bread that could double as a dumbbell. We eat at the table I built from reclaimed cedar, water rings like topographic maps. We toast to things we grew. We toast to fences that are both metaphor and cedar. We toast to GFCI outlets, because when you know, you know. We toast to sprinklers, which in another story might be rude, but here is consent. We toast, quietly, to saying no. It tastes like sparkling water with a lime wedge and a day without dread. Later, after the dishes and the way Priya refuses to let me do all of them, because friend is not a species that lives on gratitude alone, I stand in my now quiet yard. I look at my pergola. I look at my maple and the arc of lawn between us like a page I can write on. I sketch in my head, a string of lights from pergola to tree in a curve like a sentence that ends in hope. I sketch the raised bed in the dead spot by the fence. I sketch a bench where I'll go read in the heat. I sketch a future that is mine because I water it. Under my fridge magnet that says, "We don't do that here," a gift from Priya I cackled over for an indecently long time, the boundary log has grown a little unruly. I rewrite it on a clean sheet, same columns. Date, boundary, held, how it felt. Saturday, no keys for family. Yes. Quiet house, open lungs. Wednesday, charge for invisible labor. Yes. Money as mirror, not weapon. Friday. Accept help that doesn't cost me a self. Yes. Gate swings without complaint. Sunday. Only invite in what respects the house I'm making. Yes. Warm light under pergola, lights like breath. The fence company calls with an opening. They come on a Tuesday with cedar boards that smell like future Christmas mornings and good decisions. They pull the old section with its warped top and gossiping knotholes and replace it with something that looks like it knows its job. When they finish, I stand there like a homeowner who just learned her land language. I thought fences were about keeping out, I tell Noah on the phone when he asks how it looks. He asks because he likes the texture of my life. We're those people now. They are, he says, and keeping in. and drawing edges you can beautify. The sentence makes me want to plant 4 lavender bushes and a life I don't apologize for. In April, Bree invites me to a small dinner to look at her wedding photos. She writes no pressure, and for once I believe her. I go. The table is pretty. The food is basically pasta, but better, which is perfect. She shows me the photo where the elms made shadows like lace. It turned out better, she says quietly. At the park. I know, I say. I can see. She stares at her plate. Mom hated you that day, she says. She got over it. She will pretend she was on your side. Don't let her rewrite it. I have the receipts, I say. And the incident number. And the invoice. She laughs. Of course you do. Then, I am sorry, for real. We could have asked. You could have said yes, or number. We didn't give you that chance. I don't want to be that kind of person. Me neither, I say. I did it longer. We toast with seltzer to people we're trying to become. It sounds like fizz and an unlearning you can taste. In May, I plant the raised bed. I use the envelope labeled Fence Fund to buy cedar, soil, and a plant that looks like hope on sale. I write labels in black marker. Basil, thyme, not for weddings. I set the irrigation to a drip line I install on a Saturday morning while sparrows yell at me for disturbing their narrative. At work, I design an infiltration plan for a street the city rebuilt 4 times without asking the water if it wanted to live elsewhere. I write a note on the plan that is half poetry, half threat. Water will find the low place. Make the low place the right place. I put that on my fridge, too. Summer is heat and doing nothing dramatic. My sprinklers turn on when I tell them to and not when I don't. One Saturday, a man knocks on my door and tries to sell me a subscription to a lawn service. I say, no, thank you, without explaining my entire life to a stranger, and close the door. It feels radical. It feels like brushing my teeth. On a Thursday, Mom texts a photo of a flyer. Neighbor's night, bring a salad. She writes, can we host at your house? We just have so much religious art. It'll make people uncomfortable, and I reply, no, and do not give a reason. She writes, okay, and a small part of me sits down in a chair I didn't realize I'd been holding for her for years. In August, thunder rolls in and the sky opens like a repentance. I turn off my system and watch the rain water my garden for free. It drums on the pergola and runs in perfect lines off the new fence, and everything smells like fresh cedar. And a forgiveness I don't owe anyone. I stand under the eaves and hold out my hand. The water hits my palm. It's cool. It's sourced from a sky that did what it wanted without asking. I laugh, once, loud enough to make Chairman Meow blink at me from Ms. Alvarez's windowsill. That night, I host a little dinner under string lights that curve the way I sketched them back when I needed the future to be architectural to believe it. We eat tomatoes I grew, and bread Gus brought, and a lemon tart recipe Mauve sent me after she closed her policy loophole and told 3 other planners my story like a parable. The table is full of people who call me when an event is going to change my life and listen when I say yes or no. We clink glasses. We say nothing about weddings or sprinklers. We talk about the boat parade for the 4th and whether it's tacky or perfect that someone inflates a 12-foot duck every year. We talk about how Miss Alvarez wants to paint her shutters a scandalous teal. We talk about Priya's promotion and Nolan's gate hinge side hustle. He refuses to let me pay him for greasing my latch now and charges the neighbors. A reasonable rate, which is almost as wild as the fact that he remembers appointments. Later, when everyone goes home and the lights hum and the yard holds the day like a bowl holds fruit, I walk the flagstones barefoot. The grass cools my heels. I kneel by the hydrangea and pull one weed from the base. The root gives with the crisp pop of a good decision. On my way in, I stop at the controller and run Zone 2. Herb quadrant for 3 minutes because it looks thirsty. The heads pop up, spit, and settle into their arcs. The water glitters under the string lights like a sentence I want to write in 10 different ways. I watch it and think about every time I let someone else write the story with my property and my time because I was afraid of being called mean. I think about how mean it is to ask someone to choose between being used and being loved. I turn off the sprinklers. The night keeps on. Before bed, I write one last line on the boundary log before I retire it to the folder where I keep things that saved me. Boundary. I decide what turns on in my house. Held? Yes. How it felt. Like rain when the forecast said forever drought. Like water finding the right low place. I tape a new sheet beside it. The title is What I Turn On Now. Sprinklers, when the plants need. Porch lights, when good people come. Phone, when I want to answer. Music, when I can dance in my own yard. Stove, when people I love bring hunger, not demands. Myself, when the day is worthy. A week later, a city rain falls soft as if someone turned a knob. I make tea. I sit under the pergola and listen to water hitting cedar and ground and all the choices that brought me here. Someone somewhere is planning a wedding. Someone somewhere is writing a text that says, "Don't freak out, LOL." Someone somewhere is putting a key into a lock without asking. Somewhere, a younger version of me is walking into a room, telling herself she can be both kind and a wall. I lean back and close my eyes. It smells like rain and lemon polish, and the faint ghost of a day I turned on the sprinklers and called it love for myself. It wasn't petty. It was plumbing. It wasn't vengeance. It was valves. It wasn't a scene. It was a system, finally working the way I designed it to. I don't check my camera when it buzzes. It's probably a squirrel with delusions of grandeur. Or a bird. I sip my tea. I let the rain do her job. I let mine be to decide every day what grows here.